Welcome. How are you doing today? Could you imagine if I had an intro that was like, "What's popping, guys? Smash that like button." Oh God. I apologize for doing that for the joke. Several weeks ago, I was at my psychiatrist's office. I like to talk to her about like true crime and missing persons stuff because she has an interest in it, but she doesn't know anybody in her personal life who is or wants to talk about it. And I do. I do. So she said something about women who like attempts to hire a hit on their husband, but like there was never a real hitman. The guy never died, and she still gets fucking like an incredible prison sentence for just trying to want to kill a person, right? I was like, yeah, I went to school with a girl whose mom did that. And because I had done a video about a guy I was friends with who murdered someone and is serving a life sentence as he should be, I was like, oh shit. I'm gonna look up that chick's records and we're gonna go through them. And you know I like to print shit out, so don't give me any grief. I know I could have saved a tree and read this on my iPad. It's more fun this way, you know? Because if I put this in a bookmark on my computer or my tablet, I'm forgetting about it if I print it out. This is serious official business. So what was easiest for me to find is the her appeal. Same as with Nathaniel Briscoe, the dude I knew who strangled a woman to death. And like, listen, I know there's FOIA requests, but like you gotta pay for that shit, and I'm not going to. Because especially like with appeals, they just kind of like give you like a TLDR of like everything that's already happened. Otherwise, the shit would be like fucking this thick and mostly boring. So, from what I remember, this woman is named Laura Schmidt Dow. Now, I went to elementary school with, I think, 4 of her kids. There were 3 daughters, and then the youngest one was a boy. And the 3 daughters had like really, really long hair. Like very long, as though like they just never had their hair cut in their entire lives. They were born and then it grew, and then that is where they are today. And like their mother had this very long hair too, which like I applaud you if you can grow your hair past your ass as an adult who's had kids. Cause shit, I don't have any children. My shit just started falling out for no reason because I was stressed out and it never fully fixed itself. So like, I applaud her for the hair. Good job, Laura. I'm happy for you. Beautiful hair. But the thing about these girls and their long hair was like, okay, do you ever see someone and think, they look homeschooled? That's basically what these girls and their mom looked like. But they weren't homeschooled. I went to public school with the kids of this family. And there was a girl in my grade. She was the middle sister, and she was in my class. And I don't remember that we were even really friends. I just remember that my mom told me that she got a phone call from Laura saying that her daughter had asked if I could come over on a Friday night for like a sleepover. And I was like, oh, cool. All right, a girl wants to be friends with me. I didn't fit in with other girls when I was growing up, which led to me being like an internalized misogyny, pick-me type of bitch for years. I also spent a period of time thinking that like, I don't fit in with the girls. I think that I'm a boy born in the wrong body. And then it turns out that no, fuck you, I'm a girl. I'm a weirdo. Okay, so I went to sleep over at these people's fucking house, and they were weird. They were weird. Their house had a smell, a prominent smell of just grime. And it smelled like distant poop. Like you could smell the poop somewhere, but you couldn't see it. And you don't know where it was wafting from. I remember thinking that like after school, they picked us up from school, both parents. I thought that was interesting. Both parents came to pick up the kids from school and me. And they took us to like a McDonald's. And the McDonald's wasn't close to our school. It was a couple exits up the highway. And I assumed, because I was a hungry little fucker, that we were going for like an ice cream cone or after like a snack or something. And I remember when we were walking inside, like asking her mother if I could have like some French fries. And the parents looked at me and they said, no, we're not eating here. They drove us 2 exits up the highway to this McDonald's just for the kids to play on the fucking playscape. There are multiple sufficient parks in the neighborhood where they live. I thought that was weird. The way I remember thinking that the way Laura, our murderous, would-be murderous convict, allegedly, interacted with her husband was weird. I remember that his name was Gary. I remember that their interaction was very strange. So after we played at the McDonald's, we went back to their house, and then after we got back to their house, they decided now we're going out for dinner, and they took us to a different place, and I really felt like this is a lot of moving parts. We're on a road trip now. And then when we all went to lay down to go to sleep, I remember my friend's older sister waking us up at midnight or 1 and was like, hey, it's time to go. And she told us to get up. And apparently she knew that there was a certain time of night that the neighborhood sprinkler systems on timers would go off. And so all 3 of us girls barefoot are just running through the grass in the neighborhood in the sprinklers, and I thought it was fun, because I did that shit, but not with the sprinklers. I did other weird shit barefoot, sneaking out. But that was the first time I snuck out. It was later that I'd snuck out and done some fuck shit with my cousin Slim. I'm sorry, Slim. But I remember thinking it was very strange. I think about 3 or 4 years later is when my mom saw in the news that Laura, the mother of this long-haired, homeschool-looking family, was sentenced to prison for trying to put a hit out on her husband. So let's fucking get into this shit, dude. So this is Laura Schmidt Dow, appellant, versus the state of Texas, from the District Court of Travis County. Honorable John N. Wisser, judge presiding. A jury found Laura Schmidt Dow guilty of solicitation of capital murder and assessed her sentence at 15 years in prison. She contends on appeal that the evidence was legally insufficient to support her conviction because sufficient evidence established that she was entrapped. I do agree with that. She did get fucked. She didn't solicit someone to kill another person for, she was solicited herself. A door-to-door salesman knocking and being like, you know anybody who needs to get dead? That's basically what happened to her. She contends that the district court should have granted her a motion for a new trial and dismissed the indictment. She complains of 12 instances in which the district court excluded evidence that would have shown that the man whose murder she solicited, her ex-husband, Gary Peterson, sexually assaulted her daughters and threatened her and her mother directly and through her daughters. We will affirm the conviction. I don't know what that means. What does affirm? How do we affirm? Yes, you were convicted. You were definitely convicted. Or they're affirming the conviction, or we shouldn't. I feel like I should affirm her innocence. Anyway, Dow and Peterson were married in 1983 and had 4 children. They had daughters born in 1986, 1988, 1992, and a son born in 1995. Dow came to hate Peterson. Witnesses testified that beginning in 1994, she asked him if they would kill Gary Peterson or if they knew someone who would. Dow denied attempting to persuade or hire anyone to kill Peterson before August 2000. See, I feel like she's being honest. No, I was not asking y'all to kill him back in fucking 1995. I know I was in 2000, but get your dates right. So it says that Peterson and Dow divorced in August 1998, which would have been around the time that I stayed over at their house. Just kidding. I'm only 27. The court awarded Dow custody of the 2 older children and Peterson custody of the 2 younger children. Why? That's a fucking weird thing to do. You know what? In November 1998, Dow received information from the children's therapist that caused her to seek custody of the younger children as well. This bid failed a year later. In early 2000, Dow placed an advertisement to sell some of the 50-plus dogs she kept in her home. That is where the smell was coming from. I didn't see any dogs. But there were 50 of them. Dana Bishop. Oh, we have a new character. Dana Bishop. Who is she? We don't know. Dana Bishop read the ad and called Dow to warn her that it could attract the attention of authorities who would take away the dogs. Their conversation eventually turned to Dow's troubles in family court. Bishop also had family troubles, and the two bonded over their common difficulties. Now, I remember this bitch, Dana Bishop. Oh, she's a snitch. Like, goes out of her way to snitch. Not just like, alright, so Laura Dow told Dana Bishop that Gary Peterson had damaged her children psychologically, and Dana Bishop often told Laura Dow, she called you about an advertisement in the paper and y'all just be talking on the phone now? Okay. Bishop told Dow that any man who would do that to a child does not deserve to live. He was molesting them. I feel confident in saying that. I don't think their family was fucking weird. Gary Peterson was fucking weird. I do believe, so listen. Okay, so Dow told Bishop that Peterson had damaged her children psychologically, and Bishop often told Dow that any man who would do that to a child did not deserve to live. Dow asked Bishop for help in finding someone to kill Gary Peterson. Bishop did not think Dow was serious until Dow began contemplating how Peterson should die and how she would fund the killing. Sell your body, girl. I'm just kidding. No, don't do that. Well, I mean, maybe. Shit. Dow was indicted, convicted, and sentenced to 15 years in prison for soliciting the murder of Gary Peterson. 15 years? That's something I really don't understand. Like, the person did, listen, I know, like, equal treatment or whatever, right? But females are typically less dangerous. That woman had to pay a hefty sum to get someone else to kill him for her because she knew she couldn't do it on her own. Dow's appeal focuses on her entrapment defense. She contends that the evidence was insufficient to disprove the defense of entrapment. She contends that the court erroneously excluded evidence relevant to that defense, including evidence about a previous unsuccessful attempt to get Dow to solicit Peterson's murder, allegations that Peterson sexually assaulted his daughters, and Peterson's threats to Dow and her mother. Oh, that's right! I'm sorry, this makes me so mad. I read over this a couple months ago, like, when I was printing it out, like, I didn't finish the thing, but I remember thinking, like, why did she get 15 fucking years? It's because when they went to trial, the defense wasn't allowed to tell the jury that Gary Peterson had been molesting their 3 daughters, maybe the son, I'm not sure, or that he had been making death threats, apparently, to his wife and her mother. So, like, the jury just thought, like, oh, wow, out of nowhere, she's trying to get this man dead. No, she had reasons to want this man dead to protect her mother and her 4 children. And they got that tossed out so that it couldn't be brought up in trial. Fucking bullshit. And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like Jessica Kent, who is like, yeah, she totally did murder those people for no reason, but you guys, the prison isn't nice to her. Like, I don't know if y'all watch Jessica Kent, but I'm so done. I'm so done with her and her, like, trying to do true crime. Because she's the only person I've seen doing true crime who is on the side of the criminal. Weird. Okay. Any rational trier of fact could have found beyond a reasonable doubt all the essential elements of the offense charged. Oh, they're citing Jax's v. Virginia with a bunch of numbers, like they do. We do not realign, disregard, or weigh the evidence. See Rodriguez v. State. The jury, as the trier of fact, is the judge of the credibility of the witnesses. Oh, now they're citing Adelman v. State. I don't know who any of those people are. A person commits an offense if, with intent that a capital felony or first-degree felony be committed, she requests, commands, or attempts to induce another to engage in specific conduct that would constitute the felony. What did that sentence say? I feel like I read the words. I think I read the words. But, like, I don't know what they mean. Alright, I'm gonna skip ahead a few pages. Because there are some details in here that, like, you gotta sift through a lot of just lettering to get there. Laura Dow denied that she initiated the search and insisted that she was persuaded by Dana Bishop and Officer Davis to continue with the plan. Like I was saying, they solicited her! Dow admitted that while the divorce proceedings were pending, she told many people that she wished Peterson would die or that someone would kill him, but denied that she ever tried to persuade or hire someone to kill him. She said, however, that Davis was the only person she ever asked to kill Peterson. Davis, I think, was a law enforcement officer, so they sought out looking for a criminal. Laura Dow testified that she met with Davis, that is the law enforcement officer undercover as a "sure, I'll kill your husband," on August 17th, 2000, only after Bishop, Dana, you bitch, persuaded her that she, Laura Dow, had a moral obligation to do something. They fucked this woman over so bad. Bishop admits that she told Dow that no man who had done what Peterson had done deserved to live. Davis said that Dow appeared to be struggling with what to do and testified that he was ready to leave before she committed to hiring him. Now, I think I might have missed it in here, but when we were talking about Dana Bishop earlier, the one who was like, oh, hey girl, you gotta get your husband killed. She was only doing that because her son was a criminal and she was trying to find information to feed him so that he could fucking inform and get a reduced sentence. You see what I'm saying? This shit's weird. Alright, so when Laura Dow wavered and she said she thought maybe Peterson should just maybe be beaten up and not dead, Bishop told her that a beating would not stop him, even after agreeing to terms with Davis, Officer Davis. $1,000 down, $3,000 total fee. Dow avoided Davis by not delivering the down payment as scheduled on August 19th and not returning his calls. She explained that she had misplaced her cell phone in her truck. Oh, I just lost my phone in my car. Sorry, I didn't call you back. When she finally answered a call from Davis on August 23rd, Dow says that he convinced her that she was doing the right thing because she had a moral obligation to do something. This was the only telephone conversation between Dow and Davis that was not recorded. We conclude that legally sufficient evidence supports the judgment. The evidence that Dow for years asked people, including her sister, co-workers she had just met, and Dana Bishop, to kill or find someone to kill Peterson. I really have a hard time believing that this woman was just going around for years begging people to kill her husband. But then when it came down to it, they had to, like, force an undercover law enforcement officer into her life. And she couldn't even be fucked to call him back. Am I crazy? Because I remember this was really fucking weird when I was a kid and thinking, like, well, that family was crazy and, like, it was weird to hear this shit in the papers, but it looks like... Okay, let's see. The evidence supporting the verdict justifies the district court's refusal to dismiss the indictment and the denial of the motion for new trial. Yeah, they told her to fuck off. By her remaining 12 points of error, Dow challenges the district court's exclusion of evidence, as she should. If a woman is indicted and standing trial because she wanted someone to murder her husband who was sexually molesting one or more of their 4 fucking children, it shouldn't be tossed out. The jury needs to fucking know that detail. Or did he... I'm sorry. I know I've made this point, but I'm getting upset. The district court excluded certain evidence because it was irrelevant and because any probative value was substantially outweighed by the risk of confusion of issues or misleading the jury. Evidence is relevant if it has any tendency to make the existence of a consequential fact more or less probable. The exclusion of a defendant's evidence is constitutional error only if the evidence forms such as a vital portion of the case that exclusion effectively precludes the defendant from presenting a defense. If relevant evidence is erroneously excluded, but the error does not prevent the defendant from presenting a defense, we examine whether the error affected the defendant's substantial rights. They do some more code citing, like they do. Dow contends that all of the evidence excluded was relevant to and sufficiently probative of whether she was entrapped into soliciting Gary Peterson's murder. I wonder what old Gary Peterson's up to these days. What you doing, Gary? Huh? Well, since you're not going to say anything, I guess I will. New glasses, new couch. We have a new set. Which is part of why I didn't fucking have content going up for the past several months. Content. I wasn't doing my video hobby for the past couple months. I had 2 ring lights and both of them decided to fuck off. So, like, I ordered one that, like, looked really good and it was also really cheap. And it took forever to arrive. Like, considering it was supposed to be Amazon Prime, it took 10 fucking days. But I'm excited about it. This is it. It's you beesies, I guess. And I really like the mount, the camera mount. I'll show you a picture of the camera mount on this one right here compared to, like, the type of flimsy little camera mount on my other 2 ring lights. Let's keep going, girls. Oh, I also quit smoking. To preserve error in the exclusion of evidence, a defendant either may call witnesses to the stand outside the presence of the jury and have them answer the specific questions the defendant desires, or may make an offer of the proof of the questions that he would have asked and the answers he expected to receive had he been permitted to question the witness in the presence of the jury. Am I dumb? Or is that just saying, like, listen, even though you couldn't bring this into trial, you could always say that, like, you talked to him, and if he could have been there, he would have said this. Because I feel like that's what we just read. Dow made bills of exceptions through the testimony of Peterson and Woody Edmiston. Oh, that is a new character on our cast. Hey, who are you, Woody? Have we seen him on previous pages? We're only on page 10. All right, Woody Edmiston, a private investigator hired by Peterson's divorce attorney. Edmiston said that he prepared a report given to the Austin Police Department alleging that Dow wanted to hire someone to kill Peterson and recommending an undercover officer approach Dow to elicit a solicitation. Eliciting solicitation. How ethical do we think that is? Peterson said that he attended a meeting with Austin Police Department officers discussing how such an operation should proceed. Peterson testified that he did not know whether the investigation proceeded. Dow asserted that she would call other witnesses who would testify regarding the existence and failure of the police investigation, but she does not show, and we do not find in the record, that such witnesses were called. In her testimony before the jury, Dow testified that Peterson's private investigator hired someone to get her to say she wanted to kill her ex-husband. That testimony was neither objected to nor excluded. But the testimony about the molestation of the children was excluded. A party can preserve error in the exclusion of evidence by making an offer of proof, a concise summary of anticipated testimony. Dow's attorney summarized anticipated testimony, but did so while asserting he would call witnesses who were not specifically named or called, or who, when called, did not provide the asserted testimony. Neither Peterson nor Edmiston said any police investigation occurred and was thwarted by Dow's refusal. Rather, Peterson said he did not know if a police investigation occurred. Oh. So, while making a bill of exceptions, after examining Woody Edmiston, good old Woody, God, if you're gonna get murdered, go missing, get your ass written up in something, You better have a good name. Woody Edmiston, that is a good fucking name. Because, like, if something happens to a Susan Smith, which one? We don't know. We can't figure it out. If Danielle Starry goes missing, I have excellent SEO. Everybody gonna know about it. Although also, like, if I kill someone, I have excellent SEO, and everybody's gonna know about it. Don't worry, I would never do that. I'm not, like, a awful person. Okay. After examining Woody Edmiston, Dow's attorney stated as follows. And by the way, I would tell the court this. Why is he sassy in my head? And we can put these witnesses on at another time. As a result of this memo from Mr. Edmiston, Henry Bell, who's he? Gary Peterson, we know who he is, and Robert Reed, girl who? Went to the Austin Police Department and convinced them to initiate an attempted undercover sting against Laura Peterson. That's Laura Schmidt Dow. They sought out this man, Michael Jones, that is mentioned in this report. They got Michael Jones to call Laura Dow. The story goes that on the first call, his battery on his cell phone went out and... I'm sorry, this is the prosecutor. I'm sorry to object, Judge, but were these matters that were elicited whenever I wasn't in the room? Prosecutor, I think literally everything in life was elicited when you weren't in the room. No one was aroused when you were in the room. Dow's attorney, no, I am telling the court that I can present these, and I will. I don't have the witnesses here today, but I'm trying to get the court to understand our position about the relevance of all of this. It is not clear what witnesses Dow's attorney intended to call to provide this evidence. Dow called Edmiston and Peterson, but neither provided the predicted testimony. Ooh. Neither side called either Henry Bell, Mike Jones, or Robert Reed to testify. All right. Dow's next complaint about the exclusion of evidence relating to Peterson's alleged sexual assaults of her daughters, the court excluded the following evidence. Testimony by Dow's daughter's therapist that the girls reported to her that Peterson sexually assaulted them and threatened to kill Laura Dow and Laura Dow's mother if the girls told anyone. The therapist's testimony that she passed the girls' report on to Laura Dow. Evidence that Dow sought a protective order against Peterson based on a recommendation by an assistant district attorney who was convinced by videotaped interviews of the girls that Peterson assaulted them. 4. Testimony by 2 child protective service workers who found the girls' accusations compelling. 5. Dow's testimony that during her suit for a protective order against Gary Peterson, she learned that A. Peterson's attorney's letter indicating that she had coached the girls in making their assault accusations was presented to the grand jury that declined to indict Peterson based on those allegations, and B. The videotaped interviews of her daughters were not presented to the grand jury. It's probably a good thing that those children did not have to fucking testify. Like, I don't know if you know this, there's a reason that, like, a lot of rapists and sexual offenders, and just people in general, get plea deals, is because law enforcement wants to protect the victims from having to testify against the person who harmed them, because subjecting a victim to cross-examination from the defense, that's horrific, right? It's hard enough to tell someone who you know is already on your side. But being cross-examined, fuck dude, that's rough. So a lot of times law enforcement, the prosecutor, will offer a plea deal to the perpetrators of these crimes and will be like, listen, if you'll just plead guilty to regular assault, we don't have to go on with the full-on sexual assault, right? And then once the charges are pled down, their punishment, their sentence is only for the crime that they pled to. So, like, why? Like, people don't understand. Why aren't they in prison? Cut to one of my last videos. Do it right here. Why aren't they in prison? And it's like, because nobody went to law enforcement. Because it is very difficult for law enforcement to handle victims with care while still managing to, like, nail down. Should I make a sound when I do that? Nail down the baddies. I'm not talking about Instagram baddies. I'm talking about criminal baddies. It's bad boys. Evidence that Peterson sexually assaulted their daughters is extremely inflammatory, especially in light of the grand jury's refusal to indict him for the offenses. The evidence could have misled the jury into considering Peterson's conduct rather than Dow's conduct in arriving at its verdict. We cannot say that the district court abused its discretion by concluding that the probativeness of this evidence to show that Dow was entrapped was substantially outweighed by the risk that it would confuse the issues or mislead the jury. We find no abuse of discretion and overrule points of error 4 through 10. Alright, we only got a couple more pages to go, and I'm already... Listen, I really want to go eat some chicken nuggets. I'm still vegetarian. I know my set changed, but, like, I still eat Morningstar buffalo nuggets. Finally, Dow complains that the exclusion of her testimony that she was afraid of Peterson, that he appeared at her house with a shotgun, and that he threatened her and her mother. She contends that without this evidence, and without the evidence of sexual assault allegations, the jury was left with the impression that her hatred of Peterson was irrational. Dude, I'm just saying, like, if the CPS workers and the children's therapists were saying there was something wrong, that got ignored. As with the evidence related to his alleged sexual assaults of their children, evidence of his alleged threats may have some relevance to entrapment. However, it is not clear whether the threats make entrapment more likely by making Dow more receptive to police suggestions, or less likely convincing her to seek a murderer irrespective of police suggestions. The police were the ones that suggested she hire a murderer by sending a law enforcement officer to say, I'm a murderer, you should hire me. The allegations that Peterson threatened violence are inflammatory and could be misleading, especially in light of the fact that Peterson was acquitted of assault. Oh, I didn't know that he was charged and acquitted. I'm gonna have to dig up that file next. We find no abuse of discretion and overruled points 11 through 14. Conclusion. Having overruled all of Dow's points of error, we affirm the judgment. Your judgment is affirmed. Affirm, affirm, affirm. Oh my God, daily affirmations. I have been convicted. I have been convicted. I have been convicted. I have been convicted. So yeah, I guess Justices Kidd, Yackel, and Patterson affirmed, you have been convicted, and told her to fuck off. And this was in 2003. And it says down here, do not publish. Too bad. Alright, so I know that was kind of a wild ride, because, like, the last two, like, documents we looked through my friend who murdered someone, and that pissed me off, because he was a piece of shit, and that girl should never have lost her life. And the other one we read over was some dude who, like, went to a high school Halloween party where my friends were and, like, stabbed a bunch of people. So, like, fuck him, but, like, I didn't think his life needed to be, like, entirely ruined because it was, like, his 18th birthday. But in this one, this is the first one I've read over where I was just like, nah. Law enforcement and the justice system did this woman wrong. And I really hope that those kids are okay now, you know? Like, I tried to look them up. They've all changed their names. None of them seem to have their mother's or father's last names anymore. And I don't blame them because, like, if my dad was molesting me and then my mom went to prison for trying to get him killed for molesting me, I'd change my name to Danielle Starry too. Shit. Alright, well, hopefully you liked my new fucking fake plants and this lighting was okay. I want to thank you for listening. I feel like forgiveness is very important, so I want you to forgive yourself for the time that you have wasted watching this video. And have a good day!